Everyone, this is Christopher Landon, the director of Scream 7, and you're watching Craven Something Scary.
All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, patrons, and my Cravenites. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Well, guys, this is a special night that we have been looking forward to for weeks now. Originally had scheduled this back in September, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, somewhere in that area anyway. But things came up. We had to make some adjustments on my part, and we did. And my guest was very gracious to, to move the date around with me. So that was awesome. So I'm very excited that we're finally here together with all of you tonight. Now, as it is when I have a special guest, I just want to remind you all, submit your questions, first of all, as you see at the bottom of the ticker. And Val, who is my lead moderator tonight. Val, thank you for helping in the chat and keeping things as they should be. I appreciate it. And as she mentioned as well, definitely submit your questions. Keep in mind that when I have a guest, when there's a lot of discussion that him and I will be having, and we are here for 1 hour, so he's been gracious to give us an hour of his time. But as you guys know, it goes by quick. So it's going to be impossible probably to get to all of your questions. It's just how it works. And you guys know that. You've been here for a while. So don't get frustrated by that. It just happens, okay? However, if you do have a real burning question for Kevin tonight about his role as the creeper, in Godzilla, all the House on Haunted Hill, even, any of those movies, feel free to submit your question or comment through a super chat. It will move to the very front of the line. And my pledge to you is that every super chat will get addressed. That's the goal for tonight that comes through. All right. So you have the option. All right. Well, guys, I am going to get to it. I don't want to delay any longer because we want to maximize our time with Kevin tonight. And so I'm very pleased to have my guest, Kevin Ball. He, again, was the stunt double for the original Creeper in Jeepers Creepers, which is a fantastic movie. Love that movie. Justin Long. I mean, come on. It's a great film. And of course, he also was in Godzilla King of Monsters. He's a stunt double for Kyle Chandler. And I mentioned earlier, House on Haunted Hill, and tons of other movies that aren't even in horror that you would know. I could list them all out, but it would take our entire time. He's got an impressive body of work in the stunt field, and he's a true pro and a true humanitarian, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But in the meantime, please welcome my guest, Mr. Kevin Ball. Welcome, Kevin, to the stream.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's glad to have you here tonight, and we did it. We pulled it off.
We got the time right.
We got it. So, man, I just want to say again, thank you. And I'm excited for our discussion. We have lots to talk about tonight, lots of stuff to get to. So what I'd like to do is, before we really dive into all of the specifics, I will mention real quick to the chat. I just want to make sure and give a blanket hello. I always like to say that earlier and I missed it, but I want you to know that I see you're all here, even though I'm not calling your names out. Okay. I'm scrolling. I see you, and thank you for being here. And real quick, Kevin, Jason said it's an honor to have you with us, Kevin. And we're going to save that question actually for a little bit later. It's a good one, Jason, and we'll get to it. Don't worry. I saved it. Okay. So before we do get into the movies though, I always it's fascinating to me, Kevin, to always learn about where everything began, the singularity, if you will, that moment where it started and just went and blew up from there. And so if you could share with us, I'd love to know, with your amazing body of work, take us back to where it all began for you. Where did the passion start? When did you know this was what you were going to do with your life?
Well, I was born in 1970, so
Hmm.
my starting memories of television was probably in like the late 70s all the way through the 80s. So I grew up with Chips, with Dukes of Hazzard,
Oh yeah.
um, with The Fall Guy, Riptides, all these original shows, Magnum PI, all these shows that were kind of like they were starting to create the mold of what stunt people would do in the future.
Hmm.
Obviously, Evil Knievel, we all had, there were no computers back then. We had 3 channels on TV. We got out, we fell out of trees, we jumped our bicycles over whatever we could, emulating what we saw. And
Yes.
I didn't really have like an in, like, I was in Orlando, Florida, didn't grow up in Hollywood, didn't grow up in New York. So I really didn't have an in, like, a lot of other people have. I did what I could.
Hmm.
And then Orlando became kind of a mecca for live shows. So a lot of us started out in like either Disney or Universal Studios, and that's kind of where I got my start in the beginning. So I started out with the Universal doing the Wild West show, and then
Okay.
I switched over and did the Dynamite Nights Lagoon show, driving boats, and it was just a blast. That was our beginning, and then that
Nice.
kind of led into what was supposed to be Hollywood East came in,
Hmm.
and Orlando had a lot of shows going on then. So it was really easy to step from doing a live show over at Universal Studios to crossing over the fence line into the actual production studios. And we would do Sequest, Fortune Hunter, Supervoice, Superforce, all these different, all these
Wow.
shows. And yeah, it was it was a good start, a really good basis to
Hmm.
build your foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And when did the point come in time where you started to get that first audition, for example, or your first opportunity open to get into the film business? How did that come about?
There there were when the film business started here, there were a select few like coordinators that came in from California.
Okay.
And Glenn Weiler, who was one of our mentors, he was one of the founders of Stunts Unlimited in Los
Oh,
Angeles. He
yeah.
came in. He would always have training events at his house. We'd all play in his backyard. Um, and then Miami was where most of our major productions were shot. It was like our production hub. Everybody wanted to film there because it had a very unique look. And
Okay.
there was a single stunt coordinator in Miami, Artie Maleshi, who anybody that's worked in Miami knew him. He had his finger on the pulse of everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, I would just drive down to Miami and and hustle him and carry bags around and until I finally was invited to start working with him on set.
Oh, nice. How did that feel, man? Was that when you finally got that opportunity, like paid your dues, and now you got the chance, you know?
It I mean, it was incredible. That the first time you get
Yeah.
that phone call as a as a young stunt performer, you know, you, you go in and you're scared shitless, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you're just so excited that you're actually, on a production and everything is new, everything is fun, everything is, I don't know, it definitely, it just, it hits you deep inside. You just, you
Yeah.
start to realize that this is where I want to be.
Yes, yes. And there was no looking back, was there, for you at that point? Once you were in, 'cause you got a taste of it, right? Like, this is it, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. You got a taste of it. I mean, the hardest part about working down there was I live in Orlando. We would have, 7 a.m. call times in Miami. So
Oh,
you'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You drive 3 hours down to Miami. You get there for your set, your call time. You'd work a 15-hour day. We were young. We didn't have enough money to stay in hotels, so we'd hit the road,
gotcha.
drive back home, and
Oh,
but no, I wouldn't change it. It was just great. It's
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Miami definitely was like Miami and the East Coast has been my my world in TV and film.
Well, it's interesting too how, with TV and film, because you've done a lot of both. And I'm just curious, are there, kind of peeling back the curtain for us, are there significant differences in working in television and movie? And I know movies, obviously, there's probably longer shoot times and all that, I'm sure. But I mean, other than that, like just fundamentally, is there a different mindset, different approach to TV versus film?
Not there's not really a different approach. Like you said, it's if you're working on a movie, you've got you're on, maybe if you're doubling the lead, you're on for 2 to 3 months. When you're on a TV series, you've got an entire episode maybe filmed in 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
The fun thing about a TV series is it's a family, and you continuously go back to see the same people. It's the same makeup artist, the same hair, the same wardrobe, catering's the same. So, when you come into set, they know you. And it's just, it's very, TV's much more family oriented, I feel, than big budget productions.
Yeah, that's an appeal, I'm sure too. I mean, it's something to have a comfort level with people. You get to know people, and it's you go in and they know what you need. You know what their temperament is, right? What they like.
Oh yeah,
all of that.
definitely.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
All right.
even the medics. The medics on, like, we did a TV series down there or something, and the medic, like, we did burn notice for many seasons, like 15, 16 or 15, 16 episodes. And you go down, and even like the medics know what happened on the last episode, and you come down and they're the first ones to run over to you and check you out. And it's just a family. It's really, TV's great.
It's awesome, man. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. How about we move into some film work now? And, I think I want to start right at this movie I've teased earlier, because Jeepers Creepers 2001, the original Creeper. I mean, you did, and I'm going to get into some specifics about that in a minute, but I would love to know how the opportunity came about for that role to be the stunt double for the Creeper, doing, I mean, what I'm going to call is, it may be controversial, but I'm going to say anyway, the heavy lifting of the Creeper. Let's put it that way. How did that opportunity begin?
One of my best friends in Orlando, Jim Churchman, who is a wonderful stunt coordinator and stunt rigger, he called me up and said that he had this show, and we knew nothing about. We didn't know it was going to be, as iconic as it was. And he actually first called me down to double Justin. So I came down. Yeah, I started out. I was doing the driving for Justin in the car. My another friend, Jennifer Badger, wonderful stunt woman, was doubling Gina. So we were doing that type of stuff. And then, some things bounced around back and forth, and he called me up and he's like, "Hey, I need you to jump into the Creeper." So yeah, it was as simple as that. I mean, because that was in Orlando, it was a film shot down. It was another one of those, like, that was a family oriented film. I mean, it was, Jim came back into town, and, all the guys that we grew up with doing live shows together kind of came together to film that one.
Nice.
But we were still doing, like, at the same time, we were doing Big Trouble in Miami, which was a Tim Allen movie. And I was doubling Johnny Knoxville on that one. So we were kind of bouncing back and forth between Miami and Tavares and Leesburg, filming the Jeepers Creepers. So a lot of it happened because, like, one day I would be filming as the Creeper and somebody else would be doubling Justin. The next day, maybe I would jump into Justin because somebody else was working on another show. So it, which happens a lot in the film business. But that was like, that was how I actually got to get into costume.
Oh, okay. Well, so when we're watching Justin, quote, Justin, driving crazily all over the road and going into the grass, is that you, Kevin, that's behind the wheel?
One, it was 20 years ago. And two, it's a lot of times, and most of the stunt people you've talked to will admit, it's like, we shoot these scenes so many times over and over that what actually makes the final cut, you don't even know. I mean, it could be 2 or 3 of us or something, driving the car. I mean, I know there were only a couple of us in the costume with Jeepers, so
Mhm.
or there's the creeper, but yeah, it's you watch the show and you're like, yeah, that was me, that was me, that wasn't me, I was driving there. It's I've been in movies before where I was actually chasing myself. I
That's awesome.
it's yeah.
I
I mean,
love it.
most stunt guys have. You're
Yeah,
dressed up as a character one time. You're
right.
running down the road. There's a cop chasing you. 2 days later, you're dressed up as a cop chasing somebody else down the road. And you've actually chased yourself down the road in a scene.
That is fantastic, Kevin. I've never heard that before. Of all the stunt professionals I've met, that's awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So basically, the answer sounds like to me is it could be you
Yeah,
driving in those scenes. It could be. Yep,
yeah. I know. I drove the car a few times. I've driven the creeper van a few times. Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
yeah. That's pretty much. It could be. Most of the time, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to know what kind of engine was in that truck because man, that sucker could go.
That thing just came on set. That was a custom built piece. I don't even know who created it. It was a custom built piece that was designed specifically for that show. They pieced
Okay,
together like an old milk wagon and a 1950s truck, and came up with that thing. And it was great.
that's so cool. Yeah, it looks awesome. It really
Oh yeah,
does.
and it looks like it would go, but you'd be
Yeah,
surprised what's actually in movie magic.
of course. Yes, camera.
We're putting that. Yeah, we're putting
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
road a lot slower than it looks, hoping it's not going to stall out.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Now, speaking of we talked a little bit earlier about, shooting times. Do you remember what the shooting schedule was for Jeepers Creepers? How many weeks that you were on set for that?
God, I would love to come up with a correct answer, but I mean, I think we shot the entire movie in probably less than 2 months. It
Okay.
was yeah, it was probably about a month and a half. It was a fairly short, as far as I remember, it was a fairly short shooting schedule on that one.
Okay.
And we did it was I mean, it was a lot of days. We double dipped too. We had a lot of night shoots, and then we would shoot in a soundstage. That was an old orange juice plant we had converted into a soundstage down in Tiberias or Leesburg.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had all the sets and everything inside, and then we would do that during the day, and then we would shoot out to the street scenes and stuff at night.
Oh man. So pretty up and down schedule then. Some days, some nights, all mixed up,
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, this is something that I'm looking forward to ask you about. And guys at home, I've got pictures also. Let me see here. I want to talk about your costume, the makeup and costume, and I would love it if you gave us like a walkthrough, just kind of a general process that you went through. Because you hear stories of people like, it's 4 hours in makeup and some in 2 hours, all different stuff. So what was that like for you? And I'm going to show some pictures while you're talking about that. Let me pull these up.
It was one of those like 3 to 4 hour scenarios. I would get there if we were going to start shooting at 8 o'clock. I would get there at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm,
It took about 3 hours to get in the whole thing, 3.5. The
wow.
bodysuit itself was one solid piece with hands, and I think the feet and hands were both included in the bodysuit. So they would
Okay.
basically baby powder the inside of it, slide me in the suit, and
Wow.
then they would go to work on the neck, the face piece, and the thing that took a lot of time was all the little tiny pieces they would put around your eyelids, your lips, and everything else to get it blended in. They called them blenders. So there was a
Oh,
whole table full of these little tiny latex pieces they would go and put in,
oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, to get everything blended in. And then they would re-airbrush you and do a little touch up here and there. Yeah, and yeah,
Wow.
I actually found these. I found these pictures on an old 3.5.
Oh,
And yeah, that one is probably before we actually did. That was face done, neck and everything hadn't been totally blended in yet.
yes. Oh my gosh. But these just incredible, man, to see this transformation. Wow.
Oh yeah, It was great. Yeah.
Oh,
3.5 to 4 hours in, about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get out of it.
oh my gosh. Wow, that's patience, man. I give you all the credit in the world.
Oh
But
yeah.
how did it feel? Like I'm just curious, like because you go in and when you get done, here you are. Where's it at? That's what it's like. Here we go. Did it feel like you were a different person when you had all that on? Like, did it feel
Oh
like you
yeah.
were in that character completely? Like you were no longer Kevin, you're the
Oh
creeper.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great feeling, especially when you had the hat on, the coat on, the entire, all the
Oh
accoutrement, and
yeah.
you're standing out in the middle of the street. And yeah, I actually, we were working late nights. I went back to take a nap in my trailer. Kind of had a little bit of break, and
Hmm.
the trailers are little tiny things. And I lay down on one side. I took a nap for about a half an hour, and I woke up. And you get that daze when you wake up. And I stood up and I looked over, and the mirrors on the other side. And it took me. I had no idea. I scared the hell out of myself. I was staring at the mirror, not even awake yet, not even realizing who I was looking at through these eyes until I finally kept blinking and
Wow.
realized, oh yeah, I'm just in a costume.
Dude, that's phenomenal.
That was
That's
funny.
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, he looks fabulous. I'll say
Thank you.
that.
It was
He
good.
looks
Yeah, the guys
absolutely
did an amazing
fabulous.
job on that costume.
Yes, my gosh. Were you able to keep anything like the mask, anything from the film that you're able to take home?
The only surviving pieces that I actually managed to take home, and there was nothing of that. They had a big sale after the movie was over, and
Oh, okay.
um, we had my mom picked up a couple old books, and then there was some ivy, some plants they were selling,
Oh,
and
okay.
one of the pieces of ivy from Jeepers Creepers is still growing in my mom's yard.
No way. That's
Yeah,
so
no, it's
cool.
yeah, it's made it 20 years. It's hooked around her tree.
Oh man. That's pretty darn cool. That's like, I mean, it was 2001 and it's
Yeah,
2023 and it's still living on. That's so
yeah,
awesome, man.
she's got a green thumb. She managed to keep it alive. That's her pride and joy.
Wow. It's a good thing I didn't get it. Oh, it would had no it would have had no chance.
Me too.
Now just curious because and we're gonna get into this actual like, stunt specific things here in a sec. But I was just wondering, what was that partnership like between you and Jonathan Breck? How did that work with both of you? In the film in general, generally speaking.
You know, honestly, Brett created the character, and I mean, I can only praise. He was the one that got cast. He went to the auditions. He
Hmm.
and the people that that were the designers. He came up with the
Yeah.
motions and everything. That's
Hmm.
Breck is the creeper. And then what I did, and anybody else that might have been there that got lucky enough to get in the costume, we just had to emulate and create, what he did. So no,
Yeah.
Breck he's a great guy. He was really good. I mean, I didn't really get the chance to work with him. I mean, we didn't get a chance to chat, back and forth too much because again, with both of us getting in the costume at the same time, you're talking 4 hours per person.
Whew.
And then
Sure.
sometimes he would go off and film one scene. And then I would do like what they call the second unit with the stunt department and do scenes, where he wasn't at.
Ah,
So we kind of double dipped and got a lot of stuff shot with two people in different areas.
got you. That makes sense.
Hmm.
So I guess from a filming perspective, that's efficient with your budget and time too. So
Yeah.
that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, were you able to, through the course of the movie at all, and I know that you stunt double now, which is great. I didn't know that, Justin Long, for some of the stuff. Did you get a lot of time or some time to interact with him and Gina Phillips as you were filming, or perhaps not on camera, off camera?
Um, the funny thing about them is when I actually interacted with them was when I was as the creeper.
Okay, okay.
So when I was doubling Justin in the car, they weren't even on scene that day. They weren't on set. They were doing, we were on the back roads at night shooting our own things, and
Hmm.
they were probably on the soundstage filming their stuff. So I kind of was like, separate. But the first time I actually got to meet them and work with them is when I was with, as the creeper.
Got you. Oh,
Hmm.
that's cool. And how did And again, it's a great movie, man. And I just, you know, Gina and Justin are great. I've always been a Justin Long fan, and you know, as his later movies have gone, the ones that get way out there, Tusk and some of this other stuff. But he's always so good in these movies. But during the interaction with him and her, um, was it like on average, and I know this was a long time ago, so I understand, but I just want to ask, like, were there a lot of instances when you were doing some of the stunt work where it was multiple takes, like, as far as one scene, like sometimes you shoot it once and you hear cut, got it,
Oh yeah.
it's a keeper.
Oh yeah.
Other times, I've heard stories of like, William Perry was telling me how like 6 times he jumped off a 7-foot window with no padding. And it's like
Yeah.
the stunt coordinator said, no more. This guy is
Oh
going to
yeah.
break a bone.
We can talk about that when we get to Godzilla.
Okay. Gosh,
But
no.
yeah, no, it was mostly because we were still filming on 35 millimeter film back then. This
Yeah.
wasn't a digital based movie. So when you're on 35
Yeah.
millimeter film, you have a limited amount of takes. So you'll do a few times to get everything right as good as
Mhm.
possible. But they couldn't even see. This is when we still had like, you would film that day. They would
Okay.
call it dailies. They would go the next day. Everybody would look at the dailies, and then they would see, oh, yeah, this is good enough. This is what we need to reshoot.
Okay.
Now, I can give you a really good bit of trivia though about the two of them. The first time Justin and Gina actually set eyes on the creeper, they were not allowed to see sketches, the costume,
Ooh,
anything about him. They wanted their real reaction. The first time they
nice.
ever saw the creeper was when we dropped down onto the windshield in front of them in the car at night. They didn't even know what was
Oh,
coming. We put them in the car. Creeper drops down in the windshield. The whole whole thing, and their reaction was what they saw for the very first time. That was what
that's
the
that's
salvo
awesome.
wanted on that one. Yeah, that was really neat.
Now that's really, really cool. In fact, when we get done
Mhm.
with this interview, I'm gonna go back and specifically,
Oh
like,
yeah,
really
watch their
pay
faces.
attention to their faces. Yes.
Mhm.
And so isn't that cool? And to the live chat guys, this is the kind of stuff that you're not gonna get anywhere else, Okay, these stories that Kevin is sharing, a lot of these have never really been shared with the horror community. So this is fascinating. So when you're watching that, when you're rewatching Jeepers Creepers, remember that now. When that scene happens, you're seeing actual, real first time reactions, and that's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
it was
That was
great.
smart. That was very smart.
Mhm.
Yeah. Polar says, "Oh, those were real reactions. That would be
Yes.
terrifying. It
Yeah.
would.
And that
So
was like
true.
2 weeks into the filming. They had never even seen. They were kept away from everything.
Great. I love hearing that kind of stuff. It's so cool. It's like just like in Scream, for example, the voice of Ghostface, Roger L. Jackson. Wes Craven never let any of the cast see him or meet him on off while they were filming. It was just a voice. So he wanted to keep that mysteriousness to it,
Yep.
and it's a cool
Yeah,
touch. It's a cool thing.
we followed that trend. It was
Yes.
good.
Now, I'm curious about this too. Like in general, when you made Jeepers Creepers, in terms of your work on the movie, was there anything that you took from that in your journey that helped you in future films? Was there something like man, that just you experienced it, and I'm going to remember that on the next one, or anything kind of like that you remember?
We do that as a stunt person. You learn, you every show you do, you learn what works and what doesn't work.
Hmm.
Um, and Jeepers was pretty good. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff. We When we did one of the scenes where it was in the interrogation room, and we were jumping through the window.
Hmm.
Um, that one we had originally, they had originally pulled in like a certain type of cheaper shower glass or something, and we were like, you know what, we want to see you break this before we jump through it.
There you go.
And and they're like, well, it has a little spider in the bottom. It's supposed to be, tempered glass. It should break fine.
Hmm.
And we had them. We went outside in the studio, and we hit that thing with everything from, you know, sledgehammers to whatever. We couldn't get it to break. We finally hit it with a basically it's a, what do you call the paint guns, but we use ball bearings in them. So we finally hit it with a ball bearing from a paint gun, and when it broke, it shattered in like pencil shards of glass. So we're like, no. So, you know, if there's anything we take away from these things, it's like every time you do something, you learn that what you think might happen is not going to happen, and you want to test it. And you know, it's if you can't make it to, you know, cash your own paycheck because you're in the hospital, then it wasn't a successful show.
Man, no doubt. And safety is, gosh, it's got to be paramount for you.
It's paramount. It is always paramount.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I'm glad you guys didn't take anybody's word on that. That could have been really, really bad. You know, that really you could have got seriously injured. Now, I want to ask you now about, you kind of started us on this path without even realizing it, but I wanted to talk about some stunt work. And other than that one, because this kind of qualifies for that, but outside of the glass one, were there any other particularly like difficult or challenging stunts that you had to perform from the movie that that was just, man, this is going to be a tough one? You know, I mean, not that they're all easy, but you know what I mean.
I think everybody, a lot of people ask those questions to most stunt guys. You know, what's the scariest thing you've done? You know, and scary defined, you know, one thing to another. One person might be afraid of being on fire. Somebody might be afraid of heights. Somebody, you know, the scariest one I think that I actually did. I was in Chicago. I was doubling Keanu Reeves on a movie called The Watcher, and it was a lesser known movie that he had done, but I got invited out there to do it. I doubled him on the whole run. And the finale scene was, it's actually, there's a picture of it on my Facebook page, but it was, we were in a warehouse building on the 7th floor. The whole oh God, for some reason,
you good?
I hope you can't hear that. For some reason, my Siri is kicking in.
Oh, nope, we can't hear it. You're good.
Siri. Oh my God. Can you hear that? This is really embarrassing. Okay, there we go.
No, you're good.
Okay, good. My Siri started talking to me. So we were on the 7th floor of a warehouse building. We created a room, a safe room, and the entire room was set up with flame cannons and flame jets. And the stunt was to be lit on fire in the room and then jump out the window of the 7th floor into the Chicago River. It was about 70 or 80 feet up. It was at night. It was in December. It was snow flurries out, and the water temperature that we landed into was in the mid 50s. And they lit me up in the room the first time, and the camera, the cameras weren't even rolling. They lit me up early, and I'm standing there and I'm fully on fire and the room's on fire, and I'm looking around and I'm like, my only exit is the window. So I just ran and jumped, and I managed to got to the water, and and my safety diver swam me over to the wall, and the coordinator was like, dude, that looked really good. Too bad the cameras weren't rolling. And I'm like, I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, I was on fire. The room was on fire. I couldn't tell what was going on. So then he's like, you got to do it again. I'm like, yeah, I know, I got to do it again. So then,
oh man,
I get in the elevator. I get back up. We go to the top floor. I re-put all the fire gel on again. We relight up the whole room, and doing it for a second time was a full commitment. You do something once and you're like, okay, I did it. I was insane. But
yes,
the first time you do something, you don't know what to expect. The second time you have to do it, you know exactly what you have to expect. And sometimes the second time is even more scary than the first time.
I can imagine. Yes. Because you know what that water is going to feel like.
Oh yeah.
The jump is coming.
Oh yeah. We in the industry kind of have this little saying, and they call it sitting in the back seat, rolling down the windows, because you do a really super high fall like that. And what you see in a lot of people is to try to keep your positioning, you're kind of in a halfway seated position and you're like kind of flailing your arms backwards, and you see it all the time. Like you're sitting in an old fashioned car, rolling down the windows, trying to keep yourself in that position before you hit bottom.
Oh,
And that one was so high up that I actually remember having a time to have a full thought on the way down. I mean, I halfway down, I look down and my brain goes, this is a long way down. And then you continue to fall and hit the water.
man, I couldn't do it. Okay, I don't. I could. There's no way I could do that kind of. Man, I have nothing but respect for you to.
I might have a hard time doing it now.
Well, the fact that you can do it ever.
That was a 25-year-old, 25, 30-year-old Kevin. The 50-year-old Kevin's like, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, man, I applaud you, brother, because that's just, there's nothing in my DNA that would ever, I just know I know, nope. And last question for the Jeepers Creepers, and we're going to move to some other stuff here because the hour is quickly going by.
It is, yes.
It really is. Do you have, on the flip side of that, was there a favorite stunt of Creepers that was fun? Like you really enjoyed that stunt, how it came out, or how your performance was, or anything about it that stuck out as like a really fun one?
Just running back and forth over the car, believe it or not, doing the flips over the car, running back and forth. That was just a blast because we had a crane with a bungee system hooked up to it, and in the costume, and you've got an old vehicle running at you, and you just kind of jump up in the air. It's kind of that whole superhero thing. You have extra special skills because you're animated with bungee cords. You just jump and run over the car, and that was probably my favorite scene in Jeepers to do.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin, for taking us down Jeepers Creepers lane, and we've got some fun stuff now to think about on our rewatching when we rewatch the movie now. And
oh yeah,
I'm going to be trying to spot you and say, is that Justin or is that Kevin? I can't wait. But awesome. Now I want to touch on, we won't spend a lot of time here because I want to make sure we have time to talk about your book as well as your convention appearance at Chiller in New Jersey at the end of the month. So I want to try to allot as much time as I can for these things. But I do want to just quickly touch on Godzilla, King of the Monsters, stunt doubling Kyle Chandler. And you had mentioned earlier, I forgot what we were talking about now, just slipped my mind. But it'll come around. But I'm just curious, that movie had $170 million budget. And when you were on set, did it feel like it? Could you see a noticeable difference with that kind of budget?
I'm going to be 100% honest because I don't have anything to lose. No, not really. We were filming in an old AT&T warehouse in Atlanta that was converted into so-called studios. We were filming it in the heat of summer. There was no air conditioning in the building. They had to pump in, they had to bring in portable air conditioner units. You wouldn't have sent your worst enemy to the bathrooms in this place. I mean, we filmed in what we could film in. And for that budget of a movie, it was, it's really strange where you end up working. And we were doing all winter scenes. So, mostly winter scenes. So any of the stuff that we were like in the Arctic, we had on, all the outfits we had on were real. We had on either cold vests underneath where they would pump ice water through the vest to keep you chilled because the temperature was so hot. Or what I had him do with my costume was, and Kyle and I did the same thing. We basically, the outer jacket we kept that intact, but everything underneath it, we had him cut off at basically like the nipple line. So you could see the top part of we would zip it up. You could see the top part of our chest, but if we zipped it down, there was nothing underneath because we were in like 4 layers of wool and everything else.
Oh, dude. That's got to be miserable. That sounds miserable to me.
Oh, yeah. No. And, and the fake snow is not fake snow. It's basically sand and rock salt mixed together, poured on top of like a white plaster. So you have this image of snow. And then what they're blowing at you out of the machines is a mixture of white paper and Mylar to make the whole snow blowing past. And so, it's It's
Wow.
not always the best conditions that we're in.
Yeah, like give me give me that smaller budget film. Yeah, we'll take
Mhm.
that. That is crazy. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember how long you were on set there? Was that a pretty long shoot?
Um, I think Godzilla King of Monsters was almost 4 months.
Wow,
Um,
man.
I started doubling Kyle on a Netflix show called Bloodline.
Okay.
We did 3 seasons of that one. We became pretty good friends on that. From there, we went to do game night, which was
Yes. Love
a
it.
blast. We had so much fun doing game night. It was his first comedy, and he's like, I always want to do a comedy movie. So we did the comedy. And that was also in Atlanta. And then after that one, we went over and did Godzilla King of Monsters about 3 weeks after we finished game night.
Oh man. No
Yeah,
rest for the weary.
no, it was great. It was a fun run.
That's awesome. Game Night's a great movie, by the way. Just got to say that. So
I did
fun.
just like Jeepers. I had no idea that it was going to be what it was. Pardon my French, but I pissed my pants almost when I watched. My wife and I went to watch game night, and I laughed so hard. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's a tearjerker. It is so funny.
Yes. It's great, and I just love the ending. I mean, it's just the whole thing is fantastic. Man, I'm
Oh
laughing thinking
yeah,
of some of the scenes right
the
now.
the fight
Oh
scene in the kitchen, and the fight scene in
yeah,
the house when they kidnapped him.
yeah.
It took us about a week and a half to choreograph it, and then about a week and a half to film the whole thing. And
Wow.
we beat the hell out of each other. It was great.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Paula says I'm planning on what? Yeah, Paula, you need to watch Game Night. Oh my gosh, it's great. Now you have even more incentive because
Oh yeah,
Kevin's in there throwing down in these scenes.
oh yeah,
Great.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
And Val says, "Wow, he has dealt with some truly amazing actors." Yes, indeed.
Kyle,
That's awesome.
Kyle is the best. That is, Kyle and I are great friends now, but he is like the most non-Hollywood guy. We'd be sitting on set, he'd get up and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get some coffee. You want something?" And he'd show up with a cup of coffee for me, and the other actors are like, "Wait a minute, your actor is bringing the stunt double coffee," and Kyle's like, "No, it's just me. I'm bringing." He's one of the best human beings I've ever met. I love him.
Oh, that's awesome. He seems like a really, from what I've seen, of course, which is just in, interviews and stuff, but he
Yeah,
always seems like a cool guy. He
he
does.
is.
That's always good to hear, because you just never know, until you meet
Oh yeah.
someone, you never know. But it's always nice when it turns out that you folks are down to earth and
Yeah. We could do a
easy to
full
talk
episode
to.
on good and bad, but we won't get into that now since we got other stuff to touch on.
Yeah, well, that'll be for our next trip, our next visit.
Perfect.
Well, I'm going to step away now because we are starting to wrap up. Before I do that, a couple of super chats did come through that I want to bring up and a couple of questions before we move away from movies.
Okay.
Val did have a question. How much did the bodysuit weigh for Jeepers? Do you remember about what that was?
Actually, Jeepers was super light. There are two different ways to make costumes. There's basically called a cold foam and a hot foam. The hot foam is where they actually create the thing. They bake it in the oven and it expands out. So the entire Jeepers costume. I mean, it was, if you put it on a scale, it was probably maybe 5 to under 10 pounds. It was super light.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm gonna guess. I mean, somewhere around there, maybe 15, but no, it was really light. I've been in other costumes that were upwards of 30 or 40 pounds. So that was, yeah, it was super lightweight.
Oh man, that's good because it looks heavy. Just visually, it's like, man, that looks
Yeah,
pretty
no,
heavy.
You didn't even know you had it on. It was so cool.
Oh, cool. And also, I want to throw this up here. Says Tony Hawk says, "Hey there, stop by to see my friend as your guest tonight." Tony Hawk's saying hello. Well, hello, Tony.
Oh, hello, Tony. Nice to see you. I sent my messages out to everybody too, just to let everybody know I was in. So yeah, Tony's a buddy of mine from Universal.
Oh, sweet. Welcome, Tony. Glad you're here. And yeah, I would love to see you back sometime here on the channel. Would be really great. Now, I've got a couple of super chats that did come through. We want to pull up, and this one's just silly. It's funny. It's from the real Michael Myers now. So this is
Okay.
Michael Myers says, with all due respect, Kevin, Halloween Kills Michael Myers would destroy the creeper in a fight. Get out, man. That's Michael Myers talking, man. That's his ego.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know about that.
I think Michael might kill him, but then what is it? Every 20? I'm gonna shoot myself on this. 26 years or 20 something years, he comes back again.
Yes,
So
that's
and they've cut
right.
him into pieces, and as long as there's one little piece left, he still comes back and
There you go.
reincarnates. So
That's right.
that would be a really good. That would probably be a better movie than Michael versus Jason. I'd like to see that one.
Oh, okay. Michael versus the creeper.
Michael versus the creeper.
I would watch that all day in
I
spades.
would watch. I'd pay to watch that one.
Yes. And we got another one that came through. Oh, by the way, thank you, Michael Myers, for your generosity. Thanks for supporting the channel. And Hollywood Guy is coming in with a $5 super chat to support the channel. Thank you, buddy. Says, how many filming locations were in the movie? We're talking about Jeepers Creepers. Was one half in one area and other half in another?
Actually, no. All of the Jeepers Creepers movie, the first one, was filmed in a small town in Florida, Eustis and Tavares, Florida. So we were like in the woods near Ocala. And then we had an old orange juice plant that was transformed. But no, the entire movie was shot in around one little town in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Hollywood Guy. We appreciate your question, and I appreciate the support for the channel. All right. And real quick, then we're going to get to Kevin's book and some other things. Polar wants to know, what's up, Polar? Says, speaking of lifting, what was under those red soaked sheets that went down the tunnel into the basement of the when he was unloading the truck? Mannequin?
I think they were just foam rubber dummies. Yeah, they were foam rubber because hard mannequins just wouldn't mimic like a body hitting. And
true.
I believe, you can't quote me on that one. I'm pretty sure we had a bunch of foam dummies on that movie and we just kept throwing them around.
Oh yeah, well, that makes sense, man, with the motion and stuff. That dealt totally. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now, guys, we are going to move away from some movies because as passionate as Kevin is about his work in the film industry and TV industry, and it's amazing work, and we celebrate it, but we also want to celebrate Kevin tonight because he really is, he really has a passion for humanitarian war efforts across the world. And Kevin, you've written a book about this very important part of your life, and I'm going to show you guys the image. It's titled "The Heart of a Stuntman." There it is, and from Hollywood to humanity. And Val, I know she's already been putting a link up to Amazon where you can purchase the book right now on the live stream. And I don't get anything out of that. That's all for Kevin. We want to support his work by his buying his book and helping him continue to make a difference, not only in the lives of horror fans, but in the lives of folks that genuinely need help physically and in their environment and the whole 9 yards. So before Kevin talks about it, I would just like to ask you guys if you have the availability and the means. Again, I'm not asking, nothing of this goes to me. There's no kickback. I'm just saying, if you have the availability to do it, click that link that Val has put in the chat right there. She just posted it again, and consider purchasing this book because Kevin is an amazing human being. And when you hear a little bit and now what he's going to share, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So Kevin, as an introduction, would you kind of walk us through this very important part of your life?
Definitely. Are we hard out at 11 o'clock, or can we push past that a tiny bit?
Okay,
good. I definitely want to get into. Okay, no,
Yeah.
I can. I definitely want to get into talking a little tiny bit about Chiller and stuff in the future.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wasn't sure if you had it. I pitched a copy of my thing right here. So I can talk about this for hours, but I'm going to try to give it as obviously a Cliff Notes version as possible.
Sure.
You know, we've all heard about, you know, the dark side of Hollywood, and it's no different in the film, in the stunt business. I mean, there's anytime you have a career where other people think it's going to be something they want to do, actually before they actually end up hitting the ground, they, you know, the people, it's a very cutthroat, backstabbing type of environment.
Mhm.
And we were working on Miami Vice, I think is what my point to set me over. Not the TV series, but the movie.
Okay.
And I mean, we had shot the ending like 3 times. We were running like, you know, 1 million plus a day filming this thing. And we were in some really bad locations down there. And I'd always had like you know, an empathetic heart, but something just hit me. And I was like, you know what, I got to do something else. I have to try to work on something else. Because I had a background in film, you know, I kind of knew a little bit about documentary stuff, but not a whole lot. I picked up a couple cameras, talked to a friend of mine, another stunt buddy, John Ivanko, into buying a plane ticket and traveling with me to Cambodia to film an organization that was removing landmines from areas on the border between Thailand and Cambodia. And I found I met up with, love you to come over and film stuff with us. It was out of Carmel, California. It was a book club, and they turned their entire book club into this group that removed or raised money to remove landmines. So I went out there, we talked a lot. It turned out that Clint Eastwood's wife happened to be one of the board members of this group. So we all hung out together and talked shop. You know, about 6 months later, John and I ended up in the middle of Cambodia, walking through landmine fields with these group, you know, filming stuff.
Ooh, wow.
And, you know, as like serendipity would hit, Senator John McCain's wife, Cindy McCain, was on the board of directors for the organization that we went over to help, called the Halo Trust. And we hit it off amazingly. And then, so I guess maybe 2 months after coming off of that trip, Cindy's assistant gave me a call. I was actually working on another movie in Atlanta somewhere, and I was in a hotel, and I got a phone call, and she's like, "Hey, Cindy wants you to come over and film an Operation Smile mission. John's going to run for president in 2007, and we need someone to help work with her on you know, humanitarian efforts." Because she has, if you research Cindy McCain, she's been, you know, sitting in rocks, the whole Hotel Rwanda stuff. She's been everywhere. She's an amazing human being. She's like my, you know, she's my idol in the humanitarian world. So then we started traveling around the world with Cindy, which led to other doors that opened up. And we've been basically boots on the ground in 30 different countries. Everything. Yeah, that was, got to remember that one. It was somewhere, I think, in India at an Operation Smile mission.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, we were in Kosovo 10 days after Kosovo got their independence, after the war stopped. So we just kept going. And, you know, story after story after story just kept happening. And because you're filming something through a lens, you retain a lot more of the story when you see it. And people kept telling me I need to write all these stories down. So that's when the whole idea of the book came out. I decided to, you know, put everything into words. It took my first book. It took, you know, a year or so to get everything put down. I took another 6 or 8 months to track down a literary agent. And from the literary agent, we ended up getting a publisher. And yeah, and the book actually came out last December. And if you can tell on the top, Cindy McCain actually wrote the foreword for me in the book. So
yes, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's full legit. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything negative about anybody that is a self-publishing, because that is a full market. That's an amazing market. But I wanted to go and do this the hard way. So yeah, we went literary agent, publisher, everything, you know.
Yeah,
And
man.
yeah, it's, and what I talked to, you know, we'll mention Robert and Sigscom in a minute, but what I talked to him about was I'm going to bring a handful of books with me to the event in Chiller Theater.
Yeah.
but I can only bring so many. So if anybody shows up with a book, I will sign it. I will take as many selfies as you want. I mean, I'll sign your stroller, I'll sign your backpack, I'll sign your kid, I'll sign your forehead, whatever you want. I mean, that's like, that would be amazing. So anybody shows up with one of the books, you're going to get carte blanche with me.
Nice. Wow. Listen to that, guys. That's quite an offer right there. Wow. That book is like the golden ticket. If you have that
There we
book in
go.
hand, yeah, it's like, oh,
I
here we
love it.
go. Yeah. Grab your golden ticket. And the good news is, and kind of transitioning into Chiller, and I teased it when the stream began, but the awesome thing is, guys, is that you have the opportunity to meet Kevin in person, and you just heard the offer he made, and he's going to be coming to Parsippany, New Jersey, at the Hilton Hotel, October 27th to the 29th. And he's with SIGCOM, which is, I have a relationship there also with Robert, and you'll learn a lot more about that this month. But he'll be there signing and taking photo opportunities, and you get to meet the guy in person. You can tell him, hey, I saw you on Craven Something Scary. Here I am. I now get to shake your hand and get to meet you. And you can say, I've read your book, and he'll sign it for you right there. So Kevin, for those who've never been to a convention, I know a lot of folks in the audience have been, but there's also some I know that haven't. So rather than, I could lay it out, but I think it'd be much more impactful if it came from your perspective, because you would be the one they would get to meet. So can you kind of just share with them a little bit what they might expect when they come to that in New Jersey in October 27th to the 29th?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was introduced to the conventions by my wife, who is she's an amazing costume designer, and she's a cosplayer. And the first one she took me to was MegaCon in Orlando, and then there's Dragon Con in Atlanta, and there's a lot of these different things. But for people that have never actually been to a con, obviously con short for convention, but it's a pop culture event where just people come from, all genres of life, and people fly in from all places around, the United States and the world to go to these things. I mean, Chiller Theater will probably, they have, tens of thousands of people, over a weekend that come to these things. And you can, I will probably be one of the most humble people you've ever run into. Most of the stunt guys are going to be, we're just amazed that people want to come talk to us. But it's, you can meet people, like us. There's other actors that come in. You can get autographs. You can bring your items in to get signed. There's an area where there's tons of areas where you can go through and, purchase merchandise, retro things, pops, action figures. It's just a fun event, and people dress up,
Yes.
and that's the fun part. People come in, it's a place where people, you can be your nerdy self. You can drop all the, everything down. You can just go and have fun, and nobody's going to judge you. If you come in dressed up as anything in the world and you're walking around, nobody's going to judge you for anything. It's just a fun place to be.
Yes.
It's really cool. And I mean, Chiller Theater has been around for, over 30 years. It's a really, really big event up in Parsippany, New Jersey. And so we're up there. There's about 5 of us, I think, with SIGCOM, with Robert Staples, and and a lot of it's our first one. Myself, I've been off. I haven't been to these because I've either been working on other shows, or I've been off in some other country trying to do something fun and help people out. And a lot of the guys are a lot of the guys do the same thing. So there's a good fun group of stunt guys that are coming into this one that are we got some Michael Myers, we got Ghostface, we've got myself as Jeepers, and some other people. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun event.
Yes, it's gonna be fantastic. And to Kevin's point, tomorrow night, actually tomorrow night and Monday, I have 2 more guests that are going to be at Chiller with Kevin, and of course and one of my guests will be coming on the 24th the Tuesday before the con starts, and I'll it's going to be a Scream reunion outside of Kevin's time with you. You'll be able to see Matthew Coder from Scream 6. Of course, Lynn McCree, who I've been friends with Lynn for like 2 years. She's been on the channel multiple times. She's coming back on Monday. And Alan Robinson, who's been on the channel a couple of times also, is back for his third visit tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'm not 7 p.m., 8 p.m., sorry. But all of them, plus Kevin, are going to be at the Chiller Theater Convention. Again, it's October 27th through the 29th at the Hilton Hotel. There's the address, 1 Hilton Court, Parsippany, New Jersey. Guys, listen, this is Kevin's first convention. This is Alan Robinson's first convention. And this is, I almost called her Maureen, Lynn McCree's first convention. So you have an opportunity to visit them and meet them, their very first experience.
Yeah, and we're going to have, at our tables, we're going to have, we've got like, there's like Jeepers Funko Pops that have been signed by, various members of the thing. We've got posters, we've got, we've got cards, we've got, there's everything you can imagine is going to be at these tables. So, if you don't own it and you want it, it's going to be there. If you own it already and you want it signed, come on, bring it in. We'll sign it. We'll take pictures with you with it. We'll dance around in circles. We'll do whatever. We'll have a great time.
Sing Kumbaya, whatever it takes.
We'll sing Jeepers Creepers. It's a classic song. That's our goal. We'll try to get the entire room singing Jeepers Creepers around the Jeepers Creepers table. It'd be great.
I love it, man. I love it. And Val, guys, I had it up on the screen. Val has placed a link to the Chiller Theater convention. You can click that link, buy your tickets, get prepared. So you're ready to go. You're ready to go. Get your VIP tickets, whatever it takes. But you can buy those tickets right now at this at the Chiller site right here. Just click it in the link. Go to guests, and you'll be able to scroll and see all of the guests that'll be there. You'll see Kevin there, Lynn, Alan, Matthew. You'll see everybody that's going to be there. So go and check it out. If you're within driving distance or flying distance, which is everywhere, I highly encourage you to go. Make plans now for the end of the month. Celebrate Halloween in style at the Chiller Theater Convention in Parsippany, New Jersey with Kevin Ball. All right, that's what you want to do. So don't forget, guys, it's very important. It's a real neat opportunity. There's only one first time, right, Kevin? That's it. Only one.
Oh, yeah.
And
I hope there's a lot more, but yeah, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be really fun.
Absolutely. It's going to be fantastic. So once again, guys, there it is. October 27th through the 29th. Make plans now. Parsippany, New Jersey. And it's going to be awesome. So Kevin, as we start to wind down, let me just ask you a couple of closing questions that I'd like to ask. So, Ed, looking back, and you're still, obviously you're still working, but looking back to this point, let's say, over your amazing career in the stunt field for TV and movies, is there one thing that you have found the most fulfilling in your career, thinking about it, looking back?
I think the most fulfilling thing that I would have actually say that I found in the TV and film industry is chasing a dream. It's, finding something that you really wanted to do and just chasing it, whether you succeed or not, you can't stop. And in our industry, you're basically putting yourself out to be ridiculed and to say, every audition, if there's 200 people there are 199 people that are going to get rejected. So we set ourselves up for rejection all the time. But you still chase it, and it's whether it's, painting, singing, stunts, acting, whatever, it's following that dream until you finally get, you get some, I don't know, you just get somebody, it's not even a word success. It's like, you just follow it because it's what's in your heart.
There you
Whether
go.
you end up being, fully successful or just continuing to push yourself on, it's just, you can't give up.
That's right, man. That's awesome. Yes, that's wise words, folks. For us to take to heart tonight, and really keep that in mind. No matter what your dream is, what your passion is, whatever field it's in, just never take no for an answer. Just continue to fight and go and push and work on it and get better at it, and take the shots. That's the way I look at it. Kevin, I say it on here a lot. Take the shots, because you may not get every one, but if you don't take the shot, you get none of them. So you got to go for it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just you got to go for it. And now I would like to ask you also, because a lot of folks are wanting to get into the film industry, the stunt industry, or in your case also as a writer, as an author as well. So what advice, and Paula was wanting to know about that as an author, and it kind of ties into everything. What would your advice be if someone is wanting to be an author or in the film and stunt industry?
Author, that's one that is solely up to, and especially in the beginning, it's up to you. You come up with what you want to write about. You sit down daily. You put your thoughts on the paper. You write on the computer. You work through the process of just creating something. People are going to read. If you give something that you wrote to 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different reactions. But you have to come from what's in your heart. You put it on paper, and that's you.
Right.
It is not an easy goal. You can, as Tony said, never give up. He's been with me.
Yes, there it is.
You just march forward on that one. And writing to me was just like, auditions. You're going to get rejected 99% of the time until you find that one person, until you find that one person that actually believes in you and put your process forward. But you can't give up. You just have to. And writing is one of those things you can do by yourself, in your own. It's in your head. You wake up in the morning, you jot down notes, and you write. So that one, that's a you thing. Getting into the stunt world, that's changed many, many times since, like, when I started getting in the mid 90s. Again, we were before digital media. As everybody knows right now, Screen Actors Guild has been on strike because we've been on the same, basically we've been on the same contract, the same design contract since 1962. And there's, or somewhere around that time period, is what I had read on in one of our pages. And the media is just changing. It's I really wish I had answers to tell people, how to get into it again. I would still say the best way to get into being a stunt person is to, find a group of people somewhere that are training, learn as much as you can. From, if the way it used to be, if I knew how to ride a motorcycle and you knew how to drive an ambulance, I would teach you how to ride a motorcycle. You teach me how to drive the ambulance. And then, we then had double the skills. Today's time period, it's, the Hollywood is, Atlanta right now is Hollywood East. It's, when I used to work in Atlanta, we would have maybe a half a dozen people send in headshots and resumes. On Godzilla, we had over 600 people that, it's a world. But then again, we had 600 people send in headshots and resumes, but maybe of that 600 people, there were 32 of them that actually had a serious background in stunts. So it's just a different world. But just like everything else, you got to go for it. Find out where they're filming, if you can afford to do it, move to Atlanta, move to Louisiana, has a huge film community down there. You can always try the Los Angeles route, the New York route, and you get in and you just hustle. It's hustle, hustle, hustle.
Wow. There's certainly there's no easy way into anything, is there? It's work, work, work. Is um, doing the heavy excuse me, the heavy lifting. Yeah,
Mhm.
wonderful. Now I want us to kind of before we head out, I want to make
Mhm.
sure, and I know Val, you've been placing all the links, and thank you for that. But you guys need to check out Kevin's website, and he also has a couple of Instagrams that you can follow, and of course the link to his book as well that we've talked about tonight. They're all here. Thank you, Val. Has been posting them. We appreciate that. Check out his website. There's different things on there you can click depending on what you're looking for. So just look through all of them. They're great.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
saw the link tree set up. I was recently informed about the whole link tree thing, so I set one of those up, and yeah,
yeah,
that if you find either the website has a lot of stuff on it or that link tree, if you hit me up on that, you can find every link. I even have video stuff on there. I have links to like Operation Smile and the Halo Trust and groups I've worked with, along with all of my different
yeah,
links to the website and books and
it's
yeah.
great.
Also, I think I have. I'm not sure if I have sigs.com on there or not, or sigscom, but
Sixcom.
yeah, sigscom. You can also, if for like Robert's done an amazing thing for all of us, just like you have within like the stunt community and stuff.
Oh, thank
So
you.
it's wonderful to hear people's voices that are kind of reaching out, because we've been the underdogs. It took a
Yes.
long time for us to fight to finally get stunt coordinators on Emmys. We still don't have
Yeah.
Oscars. They give Oscars out to everybody, but I mean, you take like the John Wick series or the Mad Max movies, you take all the
Oh,
stunt, you take the stunts out of it, and it's not a movie. And
it's nothing.
we still can't get represented in the Oscars, the stunt coordinators. So,
It's
it's
terrible.
a so people like you and people like Robert with Sigscom, you're bringing attention to a stunt group that's been literally breaking our bones and bleeding to try to help entertain people for years.
Yes. Yes,
And
indeed.
yeah, so I mean, and if anybody, we can be reached through him, through them, Sigs. I don't know if you have the link for Sigscom, but
Yeah, that's a good idea.
if
Let me
yeah, if you
I
put
could definitely
Sigscom
handle
up,
that. Hmm.
yeah, if anybody can, if anybody wants any of us at private events or cons or any of that stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
contact Sigscom, and Robert will be happy to talk about any of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If you happen to be watching this as a convention operator, promoter, booker, or like you said, even private signings. If this
Yeah.
is something that you're interested in, we can definitely help you get there. And I'm going to put a link here for it. This is the place to go. It's Sigs Marketing, Robert Staples. Let's see here, Sixcom. Just making sure I got it right. I do. Here we go. All right, there it is. That's it, right there. So if you happen to be one watching tonight, you came into the stream, and you're like, man, I really want Kevin at my convention. I would love to have him come and be a part of my convention or a private signing. This is the website right here. Go here, check it out, and you'll be able to speak to Robert, who can help you get that accomplished. You guys can talk about your goals, what you're trying to accomplish, and that's the place to go. Yeah.
I've kind of been watching some of the feeds on the other side, and I've seen one reference to John Cena and one reference to Fastlane tomorrow night. That's the other thing that I do right now. I'm one of the stunt coordinators for WWE Wrestling. I do I coordinate the
Ah,
NXT brand, and I mean the
nice.
wrestlers, they in the ring they do their own stuff, but sometimes they want things done on the outside. If you have to teach somebody how to ride a motorcycle, they want to throw somebody through a wall. It's sports entertainment.
Sure,
So I just
sure.
wanted to show a shout out to the few people that have been. I've seen some WWE references on there, and I'm like, yeah, definitely watch. Watch this on. Yeah, there you go. Never. Yeah,
There you go.
John Cena is actually going to be with us on NXT on Tuesday night, which has been announced. So we've got.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got John Cena, we got Paul Heyman, we got some really. It's gonna be a really great show. So if you're a wrestling fan, check out NXT on Tuesday night. It's gonna be fun.
Ooh, yes. And I know for a fact that I've got some wrestling fans in my community, so they talk about it quite often. So
Mhm.
that's exciting news for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Kevin's coordinating it. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's baby proofing. I spend a lot of time in Lowe's trying to find stuff that's going to cause them not to hit their heads when they fall down. So but
Yeah.
they're an amazing bunch of athletes. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah. Janisha, I know, is a wrestling fan. Yeah, there she goes.
Yes.
Next
Yeah.
Tuesday. There it is. Yep. And Val says, Kevin, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight, sharing your experiences. Such an awesome honor to have you here
Thank
with
you.
us. Oh, so true. I feel exactly the same. Jason's coming in saying, thanks for spending time with us, Kevin. It's been so awesome. Thank you, Stephen, for creating such awesome content. Good night to my Craven Night family. Take care, Jason. Thanks for being here. It's awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think any parting words, Kevin? I think we covered everything we were intending to cover, I think.
No, I think we hit. Yeah, we hit we hit everything. Um, I think my nervousness slowed down towards the end a little bit. It's
Oh,
first time
sure.
doing one of these type of things too. You never know what you're going to run into. But no, you've been an amazing host.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody
Thank
that's
you.
involved with Craving Something Scary. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you, let me know if you want to do one of those, live viewing parties or something. That sounds amazing.
Oh, bro, listen. Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up because I would love to watch Jeepers Creepers with you, man. If you would be down for that as a watch party here.
Dude, we could have
Um,
fun. That'd be great.
that would be awesome. Well, you know what? I will tell you what I will do is we'll talk offline and
Hmm.
we'll look at our schedules and maybe we can get that for November. Perhaps we can get that next
Yeah,
month and
yeah.
that would be fun, guys. What
That'd
do
be
you
fun.
think?
Jeepers,
Jeepers.
Godzilla, any of them. Yeah, it would be some fun.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's awesome. I love doing watch parties. I was actually going to ask you about that when we got done, and so I'm glad you brought it up, man. That's fantastic. Um, and real quick, Fear of the Phantom just says, "Have you met Vince McMahon?"
Met Vince McMahon a couple times. Believe it or not, I kind of try to stay clear.
Got you, got you.
He's
Okay.
Vince is an amazing human being too. There would be no WWE without Vince. He started from the ground
True.
up, and
Yep.
it is his dream, and for the longest time, every single person,
Hmm.
every storyline, every wrestler, everything was him. And he still has a big hand in it, but we have to do, big shout out to Shawn Michaels and
Yeah.
Triple H. Hunter
Yeah.
Hunter's the man now when it comes to, SmackDown and Raw and the whole direction it's going. And then, Shawn Michaels is, he's our god at NXT. He's just, it's fantastic.
Oh man. Hey, Tony was also saying good night and says he wants to catch up. You guys need to catch up. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Val's very excited about the idea of a watch party for Jeepers. Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. So we will definitely look forward to having Kevin back here on the channel for a watch party. That will be a blast. But in the meantime, guys, thank you all in the live chat for coming tonight, and everyone who will be watching this on replay over the next weeks, the months, years. It's going to be out there. Welcome, and glad you were here as well. And Kevin, I want to thank you, man, so much for making the time tonight to spend with me and my amazing community. This has been a great time, man.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Wonderful. So yeah, listen, hang tight. I'll meet you backstage in a sec. You just hang tight.
Perfect.
Everyone else in the live chat, we're going to go ahead and say good night. Hope you guys had a great time. I do want to remind you all really fast, and I mentioned it earlier, but just so that you see the visuals, because I like a visual person. Don't forget tomorrow night at 8 p.m., Alan Robinson will be stopping by. We're going to talk with him again about being Ghostface in Scream 2 and doubling Timothy Oliphant and Matthew Lillard in Scream 1. And then on Monday, Lynn McCree, our good friend Lynn, is coming back at 8 o'clock Central on Monday night. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And later in the month, another great, amazing stunt royalty, Chuck Borden, is coming back. He is an amazing guy, Kevin. And he'll be back to watch Dr. Sleep that he was stunt coordinator for. And we're going to watch that with Chuck. And finally, at the end of the month, Carlos Alonso Olea, who's the director of Killer Book Club, the Netflix murder mystery whodunit slasher, is coming back for a movie watch party. So it's going to be a rocking rest of the month. Kevin got us started off. What a way to bang off of October. This is getting us started greatly. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you all again. And I will see you all on the next live stream or the next video. And Kevin, again, I'll touch base with you here in just a second, backstage. Perfect. And everyone else, have a great night. We'll see you later.
Sleep well.